There are some wars in history that have winners and losers, but there are also wars that have no real winner at all. World War II is one of them. So why is this war still talked about today? Why, even decades later, is it remembered as the most terrifying and destructive conflict in human history? Today we're going to explore the reasons that made World War II such an overwhelming catastrophe for humanity. World War II is considered one of the darkest and most devastating periods in human history. It was not merely a struggle for power between nations, it was a disaster in which the value of human life was almost completely disregarded. What made this war so crushing and horrifying was the fact that it was no longer confined to battlefields. It reached cities, homes, and the very center of everyday life. Millions of people lost their lives not because they were soldiers, but simply because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. With World War II, the world encountered the concept of total war in its truest sense. Civilians were no longer outside the conflict, they became direct targets. Cities were deliberately bombed, factories, train stations, and even hospitals were considered strategic objectives. At night, the sky was no longer lit by stars, but by the flames of falling bombs. Cities like Dresden, Hamburg, and Tokyo were nearly erased from the map within hours, and hundreds of thousands of people were killed in a single night. War had entered people's homes. Another reason World War II was uniquely terrifying was the ruthless use of technology against humanity itself. Aircraft reached unprecedented levels of destructive power, tanks rendered defenses meaningless, and submarines turned oceans into invisible graveyards. But the peak of this destruction came with the use of the atomic bomb. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, tens of thousands of people vanished in seconds. Human shadows were burned into walls, and radiation continued to claim lives for years. Its effects did not stop with those who lived through it. Even unborn generations were affected. This war was also a time when ideologies were placed above human life. Fascism, Nazism, and extreme nationalism caused millions of people to be labeled as enemies. The systematic genocide carried out by Nazi Germany stands as one of the greatest shames in human history. Jews, Roma, people with disabilities, and political opponents were condemned to starvation, torture, and death simply because of who they were. Camps like Auschwitz became the darkest proof of what humans are capable of doing to one another. Another factor that made World War II so overwhelming was the unimaginable scale of death. An estimated 60 to 70 million people lost their lives, and the majority of them were civilians. This represented a staggering portion of the world's population at the time. Almost every family suffered a loss. Some lost fathers, some lost children, and others lost entire families. When the war finally ended, it left behind not only destroyed cities, but deep psychological scars. The horror of the war did not end when the fighting stopped. Its consequences lasted for many years. Famine, disease, millions of displaced people, and collapsed economies continued to shape the world long after the war was over. Even those who survived were never truly able to return to their old lives. World War II taught humanity a painful lesson. Progress and technology do not always bring good. In the end, what made World War II so terrifying was not only the weapons or the armies, but humanity's loss of limits, compassion pushed aside, and the power to destroy taken beyond control. This war was etched into history as a warning, because it showed with brutal clarity what a catastrophe looks like when it must never be allowed to happen again. If you enjoyed this video, please remember that this channel is still at the very beginning of its journey. Here, my goal is to share powerful moments and forgotten stories from history through short but impactful videos. Many new videos are on the way. If you'd like to support the channel and be part of this journey, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.